Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, making sense of the news.
It is 6 minutes after 4 o'clock on this Thursday. WMAL, Mike Opelka joining you once again. Thanks for being here. Looking over some of the craziness going on, I'm just wondering what would happen if a building, a residential, sort of a mixed-use building, residential and commercial, mostly residential building, had been taken over by conservative protesters in Washington, D.C. during, let's say, the Biden administration. I'm wondering if the shenanigans would be allowed to continue, the disruption of life of the citizens who were residents of a residential building, if that would be allowed to happen, or if they would be gathered up and swept out. Well, protesters have occupied Trump Tower now, the lobby of Trump Tower, which it is a commercial space that is the entrance to a residential property. And I do believe the president's son is still living there because he's attending NYU. Barron Trump, not the other sons, of course. Barron Trump, a freshman at NYU, has a Secret Service detail that takes him down to his classes or escorts him to his classes. And I'm wondering if Barron Trump has any trouble getting in and out of Trump Tower. There is an underground entrance, a parking garage entrance that's accessible, I think, from 53rd Street. But the angry, super liberal, anti-American crowd has occupied the lobby of Trump Tower. Some of them have been taken away in handcuffs or in the plastic handcuffs, the little zip tie handcuffs, and not before they were able to chant and say a bunch of dumb things. Cut 7, please. Free Mahmoud, free them all. Free Mahmoud, free them all. That's what they're chanting. And it's kind of fascinating to watch this because when you think about Mahmoud Khalil, the graduate student at Columbia University, the person here on a visa who has been walking around with flyers from Hamas, those are the people who advocate for the complete annihilation of the state of Israel. And he's a threat. He has been said to be a threat by Border Czar Tom Homan, by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He's currently being held in Louisiana with a team of lawyers that anyone would be proud to have. I just wonder how this graduate student is able to afford all this. Who is paying for this bevy of lawyers who are trying to defend this man and want him, demand that he be released instead of being deported? You just got to wonder, who the heck is behind this? I'm guessing we're going to find out eventually, not right away, but it certainly feels like this is not your normal situation. And watching Fox earlier today in preparation for the show, I was astounded by a statistic that said that, in fact, not the graduate school, but the undergrad school at Columbia, the population is more than 50% foreign students. So American students are less than 50% of the student body in the undergrad. That's a little disturbing, is it not? And why is that happening? And how are those undergrads from other countries able to spend all that money? How are they able to spend all that money to populate an elite university? And how does that same number compare to around the country? Let's look at all the Ivies, as they say. I'd like to know. I really would love to know. Perhaps we will find out. At the same time, in Midtown Manhattan, which is where Trump Tower is, in the 50s, in downtown, in lower Manhattan, the Tesla store was once again taken over by some radicals, and they're standing in the windows holding signs that say things like Musk rat. See what they did? Aren't they clever? And why are they so angry at the guy they loved? If you go back, we can go back in time and see, I think it was 2008, when Elon Musk admitted to voting for Barack Obama, admitting to standing in line for hours to be able to shake Barack Obama's hand when he was a candidate for the presidency. And then after he was elected, Elon Musk and Barack Obama stood and reviewed one of Musk's early SpaceX rockets. They loved this guy. They loved his electric cars. They thought he hung the moon and then was going to send rockets there and then on to Mars. And now they want his cars exploded. They want his dealerships shot up. A transgender man has been arrested and charged. I'm sorry, a transgender woman. A man pretending to be a woman has been arrested for throwing homemade Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership in Colorado. They're so violent. But how did Musk go from saving the planet, building beautiful rockets, being the one they all wanted to be like, to being the most hated man on the planet by Democrats, by liberals? How did that happen? Oh, that's right. He likes Donald Trump. It's just so amazing. It is, and it's so transparent. We can see exactly who they are. Exactly. And I believe that Elon Musk is going to stick to his guns. He seems to be dug in fairly well. At least I hope he is. I hope that's what's happening. We shall see. Keeping an eye on all this. Also, in just about 20 minutes, we'll be talking with Dr. Michael Roizen from the Cleveland Clinic about the questions about the measles outbreaks that the left are telling us. Well, there's a lot of measles outbreaks. What is it? 500 cases. One, possibly two people have died. How many people die in this country of heart disease every year? How many people die from complications of bad diets, things like diabetes, hypertension, stroke, heart attack, all these things? How many people die? And we have one or two people who passed away from measles and fewer than 1,000 people with measles. Why is that headline news and the shocking number of people who die from heart disease? Why is that not a headline story every day? Why is the fentanyl crisis, the deaths from fentanyls, not a headline story every day? Why is it? Because it feeds the narrative. But we'll talk with Dr. Roizen about that. I also want to ask him about the vaccines, not just the COVID vaccines. I think we're past that. But the number of shots that are recommended, inoculations for children after they're born, newborns, the numbers staggering. Is there a connection between vaccines and autism? I'll ask him the question. We'll get an honest answer, I promise you. He'll tell us exactly what he believes because he's that kind of a guy. Yesterday, we got what I thought was really good economic news with the consumer price index as inflation slowing down. It was anticipated to be 3% down to 2.8%. That's a very good sign. It's still not where it needs to be, but it's going the right direction. And then this morning, we got the the producer price index, what it costs people to make things. And the report, well, decide for yourself. Good news, bad news?
On a headline, expecting up 0.3, up 0, goose egg, unched. Boy, that is progress. We haven't had a number that low. Well, we equaled it in July of last year when we had another 0.
So the cost to make stuff went up 0% last month. They were expecting it to go 0.3%. It did not. And that 0.3 under is a big stinking deal. There's more on this.
To find a lower number, you're back to October October of 23 at minus 0.4. Strip out the all-important food and energy, down 1/10. Down 1/10. That's 0.4 lower than expectations. Down 1/10 also equals July of last year. Find a lower number, you're going back to COVID times, April of 2020.
This is good news. This is a good indicator. And I know that we talked with E.J. Antoni yesterday, the economist from Heritage, and he said that a year to a year and a half is when you're actually going to see reductions in prices. But you can't have that reduction in prices in a year unless you have this kind of progress. This has to happen. It happened today, and you're not hearing about it. Why? Because it doesn't fit the narrative. It doesn't fit the orange man bad narrative. And they're focused on the shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, as we heard about from Senator Rick Scott last hour. We will dive into that. You're welcome to join the conversation at any time. The number, of course, 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Here's an interesting question. Susan is calling from Springfield, Virginia. Hello, Susan. Welcome to WMAL.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for taking my call. I just was curious about what your take was on the optics of the. I saw on the news, or I read it. I didn't see it on the news. I read an article about it, but apparently an OPM Trump appointee young girl was doing her social media influencing apparently during the day from her OPM office while federal employees were being fired. And I just thought, what did you think about the optics of that? And do you think that Trump should say something about, because it just looks bad. Here they are firing a bunch of people, and she's blowing kisses into her video, into her camera, and selling the clothes and all that kind of stuff. So I was curious what you thought about that. But then
go ahead.
When you were saying why people don't like Elon anymore, because you're right, everybody loved him. But I think it's not just because he's friends, because he likes Trump. I think part of it might have been like the change, like it seems like he's kind of being not very empathetic about people that are losing their jobs and going up there with the chainsaw. So I think that's why people are like feeling like, dude, you're the richest guy in the world and all these people are being fired. How are they going to make their mortgage? And then you come on stage with a chainsaw. I think it's more that kind of thing, not just because he likes Trump, That's why.
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting question. Yeah. Let me address the first question about the young lady who is a part of the Office of Personnel Management, and CNN had a story showing that she was posting all these outfits, and it appears to have been done in her office. If it was done in her office on company time, I do have a problem with that. I do think that's a problem. And I do think that this administration should lead by example. If you've been asked to do a job and you're using your position and your office to feather your own nest with your social media account, if you want to be, and I hate this word, influencer, if you want that to be your job title, then that should be your job title. If you want to be modeling clothes, you should go model clothes. And I would love to see somebody in the Office of Personnel Management deal with this personnel and manage their job into a retirement. And it is a shocking story because you can't say that you're against government waste and fraud and allow this to go on, especially from the office that's in charge of firing all those people. Now, on Elon, I think you're wrong on that. I think this has more to do with Elon being close to Trump, and I'm going to put an and in there, and Elon buying Twitter and allowing the truth to get out on Twitter instead of suppressing it, which it was done for many, many years under the leadership of Jack Dorsey. And I think there's still a lot of pent-up hate and anger for Elon on that. But we can argue about that ad nauseum. And we won't right now because, frankly, it's time for me to take a break. It's 4:20. The W.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
It is 426. Mike Opelka, that's me. Happy to be here, thrilled to be here on WMAL, and trying to get to everything today. And so many of you are weighing in. I appreciate the calls. Getting to a lot of response to this woman who works at the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, and posting things on her social media account as an influencer. Ugh. If I could ban one word, and I'm not for word banning, but it just makes me cringe when I hear someone say, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm an influencer. Are you? Are you? Good for you. Why don't you make something? You make something that entertains people instead of saying you're influencing people. I immediately put you in the category of Meghan Markle, who also gives me the cringy feeling. But we don't have time to get into that. I have Dr. Michael Roizen from the Cleveland Clinic and from Longevity Playbook talking to us in about 10 minutes. I'm going to ask him about vaccines, and I'm going to ask him about measles. And I also want to know about vaccines. I want to get into the story that Senator Joni Ernst posted about yesterday. Senator Joni Ernst, part of the Doge caucus in Congress, and she released some details about a strange occurrence that came out of the National Institutes of Health. They awarded a $28 million contract to a mysterious venture-backed company called Vaccine Company Incorporated. And Vaccine Company Incorporated, a biomedical firm founded in 2022, they operate out of a post office box, and their CFO happens to be one of President Biden's former top COVID advisors, and they got $28 million in the last couple of months of the Biden administration. $28 million of your money for the vaccine company in a post office box in Bethesda, Maryland. We'll talk about that later. Just around the corner, what's up with measles? And why are we giving babies so many vaccinations? Dr. Roizen joins us next on WMAL.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
It is 4:35 on this Thursday on WMAL. Mike Opelka is my name. Vince is in the process. He is getting ready. Monday is the debut of our buddy Vince, taking over the slot that will be left empty for a very split second by our buddy Dan Bongino. Yes, I like and respect both of those guys greatly. I know you're going to be here tomorrow for Dan's show. It's going to be an emotional show. I bet we're taking kind of like side wagers. Will there be some special guests? Because I believe the President of the United States was a guest in the very earliest days, if not the first guest on the Dan Bongino show. So maybe there'll be a special appearance tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. Pretty easy one. You're welcome to weigh in, but we do have a special guest here. I have mentioned that the mainstream media has been obsessed with a measles outbreak, and there's been one in West Texas, I think out in the Panhandle. There have been discussions of why and who brought the measles here and what is it doing. And then I started looking at the numbers of people we lose every year from heart disease, from heart attacks, from stroke, from complications from diabetes, from fentanyl poisoning, and it is in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And I thought, where's the daily outrage from the mainstream media about that? That's a health crisis to me. At least Secretary Kennedy seems to be wanting to address this issue of getting America healthy again, making America healthy again, MAHA. And so I wanted to get the details on the measles outbreak. What's the threat? You probably noticed on social media, if you've been tracking it, a lot of people have been sharing a clip from an episode of the Brady Bunch when the kids got the measles and they all had to hang out together so they could all get it and then be cured of it and their immune systems would be strengthened. And instead of talking about that, we seem to be panicking and talking about, oh, there's a measles outbreak. And I know it's a tragedy for the family or two that has lost a family member to it. So I reached out to my buddy, Dr. Michael Roizen from the Cleveland Clinic. He's also got a pretty cool website called longevityplaybook.com, trying to help everybody live younger and longer and all that good stuff. And I want to ask about the vaccine schedule for children, too, because that seems to really be bothering so many people. And I know the questions about the surge of autism over the last 20 years, what's behind it? Is it the vaccination schedule? So let's get into it. Dr. Roizen joining us. I appreciate you being here, Doctor. Thank you again for making time. But should we be freaking out about the measles outbreak?
I don't know that freaking out is the right thing. If you are immunocompromised, you've got to isolate and worry about it. And if you're under treatment for cancer chemotherapy, you probably should worry about it. Other than that, it probably is not something you have to worry about. Meaning, if you've either had the measles, as most people over the age of 50 have, or have had the vaccine, as whatever it is, 90-some% under the age of 50 have, then you don't have to worry about it. Now, the problem is the older we are, and if we are immunocompromised, then you can get a very bad pneumonia with it, which makes it difficult to oxygenate and may require some time in the ICU. So the key is avoid that West Texas area, avoid contact with people who have it if you're immunocompromised. It's the only real people who have to worry about it are those who are immunocompromised or on cancer chemotherapy type therapies.
So these little outbreaks seem to pop up every decade or so, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure.
Wait. It's pretty clear why it's in this area. One is someone got it, and because many of the kids had not been vaccinated, there was an outbreak. It's pretty easy to avoid this one. You get vaccinated when you were a kid, or in our day, when you and I were young, when we were healthy, we were exposed to other people with it, and that was easier for us.
Yeah, I remember measles parties. If one of the kids in school got it, the other moms and dads would say, hey, can I send my kid over to get it so they can get it and get over it? That was kind of a standard operating procedure.
Yeah, so when you're a kid, you're able to fight it off much easier. And because you had a party, and essentially you got everybody in the school with the same grade getting it at the same time, you didn't miss a rolling schedule of classes. Everyone missed the same thing, and so the teacher retaught that same thing at a later time, so you didn't miss that part of school.
So the reality is, if you're immunocompromised, if you're on chemo, yes, avoid the measles by avoiding the areas where these outbreaks are happening. Generally, healthy people will survive it, and if you're vaccinated, and the vaccine lasts for your lifetime, Doctor?
Yes.
Well, that's cool. I know a lot of people were questioning that because sometimes you have to get vaccines boosted, if you will. Great stuff. Speaking of vaccines, a lot of questions, a lot of people asking, do we have too many vaccines mandated when babies are born in this country? I've heard a number as high as 72 vaccines are required in the first 6 months of a baby's life. That seems excessive. Is that even close to true?
Well, the required isn't, advised is. So Dr. Oz and I, in our days of writing books together, called and talked to 150 experts in the field, or so-called experts in the field. And literally everybody on the anti-vaccine, from Sherry Tenpenny and on the pro side, Paul Offit, but literally everybody in between. After we got through, we wrote a chapter on it, which is in 2 of the U-books, What to Expect essentially when you're pregnant and you raising your child.
Okay.
And we put it on the Dr. Oz site and on the Oprah site. And of course, after we did it, no one on either side would talk to us. So the childhood vaccines, there are about 55 of them at that time. There are a few more now. I don't know if 72. The last I saw was 58. The point is, like MMR, they're given 3 at a time in one shot, if you will. But in any case, we believe there's a risk to vaccines. That risk is a very small risk, and because of the vaccine controversy, the vaccines have become safer. There's a strong benefit. What's the benefit to risk ratio? It's about 40,000 to 1. It's like putting $1 down when you're a kid and getting either 40,000 back or losing the $1. Almost everyone would take that, 40,000 to 1. So we said there was a huge benefit to risk. No one would talk to us. Why? Because we thought the schedule should be changed to do exactly what you said, to lessen the burden early, since many of the diseases that you're getting vaccinated against don't occur early or unlikely, very unlikely to occur at that time in your life. So the only people who would talk to us actually was the CDC people who were on the vaccine group, and we did PSAs for the CDC in that era to talk about the benefits of vaccines over risks. We believe there's a strong benefit, and we believe the schedule can be altered. And in the book, You Raising Your Child and You Having a Baby, in both of those books are a series of pro-con debate chapters and why we came out on that side. We not only talked to 150 experts, but we read about 1,000 papers on the issues.
It's interesting to me, and I hear the discussion ongoing, and I know there's a lot of questions that have also been raised, not just about the childhood vaccines and whether or not there are too many of them, and communication is obviously important with parents and their pediatricians before they approve of anything. Is there a chance, as we've been told, that all these vaccines could have caused the huge spike over the last 20 years in things like autism?
You know, the data is so against that it is very unlikely. Is it possible? I suppose anything is possible, but it is very, very unlikely. Now, the one thing that sometimes people could cite is that there may be a change in microbiome that allows a different immune functioning after all these vaccines, and that may allow either autoimmune disease or some other issues. But because of the studies that have been done, it's thought the chances of that are less than about 1 in 100,000. So if you say, is this absolutely ruled out? It's as close to absolutely ruled out as we can do it based on the studies that have been done.
So how do we figure that the rates of autism have escalated so radically in those last 20 years?
You know, I am not an autism expert. My wife is. She ran 2 large treatment centers for autism, one at the University of Chicago and then at the Cleveland Clinic in Case Western Reserve. So I'm going to give you her answer to this. One is there is a definite increase, no doubt, and most people think it is due to things in the environment. 2, you can decrease the chances by over 60% if you get prenatal vitamins. So taking prenatal vitamins in that population, it's not a very large increase. It's the increase in people who aren't getting prenatal vitamins that is so large.
Okay.
Third, there is an economic benefit to having the diagnosis of autism because you get many more services than if you just said mental dysfunction. So that a lot of the increase, about half of it, half of the total increase, is caused by the way the economic system works compared to the way it worked in the past from a standpoint of getting services for your child. And then the other thought is that it is chemicals in personal care products and the chemicals in the environment and in preserved foods that have some way of increasing the risk. So the answer is we don't know, but probably a major part of the increase is due to the benefit that diagnosis confers. Another major part is probably due to the increased chemicals in personal care products and the lack of eating balanced diet since fast food has come in, and consequent lack of vitamins in our food, and that a fair number of pregnancies are accompanied by not taking prenatal multivitamins for 6 months before pregnancy in both the man and the woman.
So guys have a role in making sure they have a healthy child as well. It's not just on the woman when she gets pregnant.
If they're thinking about having a child, they should be taking prenatal multivitamins for 6 months before conception as well.
My buddy is Dr. Michael Roizen. He is from the Cleveland Clinic, but you have to check out longevityplaybook.com. It's a website that'll help you live younger, longer, better, and that's what we all want to do. Great newsletter, great information every week. Dr. Roizen, thank you for letting me pick your brain. Let's do it again next week.
My privilege. Thank you.
And there he goes. Really interesting stuff, especially when you break down one of the potential causes for the massive spike in autism is the financial benefit people get from being able to say they're autistic, which sounds like a whole lot of government fraud, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll get into this, but it is 4:50.
WMAL, making sense of the economy because it's your money and your retirement. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
It is 4:56. Mike Opelka is my name with you on WMAL. Thank you for tuning in. I got to say hi to my buddy Mary, who just sent me a text message listening to Dr. Roizen going, who is this guy? His name is Dr. Michael Roizen. He comes to us from the Cleveland Clinic, and I thought his answers on the spike in autism were pretty amazing. Yes, it sounds like Robert Kennedy could be on to many things here with his take on getting our food supply to be made a lot healthier, to get the additives out, that there may be a link there. But there's also a financial incentive to getting an autism diagnosis for your kid. You get on a government gravy train of benefits, and I wonder how that sends money back to the doctors who have the diagnosis on their pad. It's really interesting. We'll keep following up on that. Next hour, John Lott joins us to talk about concealed carry and the benefits and what it does for safety. We'll get into many things. It is Mike Opelka on WMAL.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.